Well, good morning, everyone. Today is March 31st, the last day of March. I think we can all agree. Good riddance, March 2020. Let's hope April's better. I'm feeling that it won't be, but at least we won't have a new pandemic, or we shouldn't have a new pandemic. Joining me this morning is Ryan Walters. Ryan is the Executive Director of Oklahoma Achieves. He's a former and current AP U.S. history teacher. Was at McAlester and is a McAlester born and bred. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, good morning, Brent.
I'd like to address this is an important topic I want to start off. I want to address our wardrobe. First, if you can see, this is an old logo of the OPSRC. My Director of Communications will yell at me later. But I don't have many polo shirts. I have more long sleeve shirts, and I'm a little sweaty guy, and like going outside has been my key, like in between meetings. And so having a long sleeve shirt on has not been beneficial for me. I know everyone's really worried about me, so I wanted to clarify that. But we have Ryan here. I'm very impressed that Ryan is still rocking the skinny tie, because that's sort of his thing. So
if I'm coming on school zoned, then of course I'm gonna dress as
you bring the A game, don't you?
No doubt, absolutely. This is big time TV right here.
Hey, I appreciate having George Washington off your left ear here. That's
where is he? Right there.
No, that's the Constitutional Convention.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Philadelphia, 1787. Yeah, we've been doing some Zoom podcasting here for some of my classes. So I've kind of been stuck in at the Constitutional Convention. It's kind of where I've been.
Okay, I dig it. So, so yeah, it's a little hard to get a picture of the Gilded Age, isn't it? So.
Yes, yeah. Some of the other, yeah. That's probably And I was trying to think. You don't want to get too into some of the earlier times. Yeah, it might be a little depressing right now. I thought this might be. It's a painting too. It's kind of got a little. You got the glimmer of light going on back there. So it's not like a. It's got a little happy.
I'm digging it. So. So I want to jump in. What I wanted to have you on is so when you started as the Executive Director of Oklahoma Achieves, you reached out and said, "Hey, I want to teach." And I said, "Sure, let's rock and roll." So we set up, worked with you to teach AP U.S. history, and you're still teaching AP U.S. history back at McAlester, sort of in a distance learning kind of co-teaching arrangement, and also teaching at Millwood High School, where you're doing a mixture of that. Talk about that first, and then let's talk about how that experience translates into, sort of this distance learning abyss that we're about to jump off into on Monday, April 6th.
Right. So, I wanted to keep teaching AP U.S. history. I really wanted to teach it in person as much as possible, but again, with my current job, that made it difficult. So, worked with Millwood High School. Their superintendent there is awesome, Cecilia Robinson, and she said, "Love to have you." And I said, "Look, I can be here on some days, but I can't be here every day." So what I did was I posted videos of myself giving a lecture and giving instructions, which I think we'll get into detail more on kind of how we went about doing that, and then loaded it in an LMS for students to log in every day. And if I was there, I would teach the lesson in person. Sometimes I would do it virtually through Zoom, where I actually wasn't in the class. But then there were also times where they had video, they had instruction, they had a video instruction of me telling them what to do, and so they would get in and do that. And there was a teacher there in the classroom that worked with those students if I was unable to attend. We did something similar with McAlester, where they actually had a principal and a teacher that was working with two classes down there. And so again, they had videos of me. We did some live streaming, and then if I wasn't there, they had those type of materials in the LMS. They also had the option, they had a teacher there that could actually provide a lecture or facilitate as well. So that was, we were kind of doing this just as a way to keep me in the classroom and to help schools offer AP courses that were having trouble finding AP certified teachers. But, right now it's been kind of interesting to see, districts, having to really innovate really quickly and really stand up some distance learning. So, there were some lessons we learned along the way for sure. This can be a bumpy road a little bit. And, we had a great group of students at both schools that we told them, please be really honest with us. Tell us if you have an issue or if there's a problem or if there's something you think we can do better at getting this to you, or maybe it's quality of the video or whatnot, just please. And so they've been very good at giving us feedback throughout the experience this year.
So tell about what were some of the bumps that you hit? Maybe some expected, unexpected.
Okay, so just right off the bat, we had some of the schools like it would flag the videos and wouldn't let them stream my videos. So just right off the bat, it was like, okay, well, we need to make sure that first of all, when we're recording a YouTube video, you have the option when you upload to YouTube that it's recommended for kids, and I think that gets by most firewalls. So if you hit that it's recommended for kids, it seemed to me that got by the district's firewall. Then there were some other
a building issue.
Yes.
So we don't have that issue.
Probably not have that issue, I know. One of the other issues is, of course, students that don't have the bandwidth at their homes. And so one of the things that we talked to them about doing was downloading the videos. I mean, again, they could come to the school site, which I still, they could go to McDonald's parking lot, things like that, download the video, download the documents, and then boom, they could go work on those type of things from home. Then when they come back on the Wi-Fi, they could send it back off. And we also talked about ways, of course, you don't want to do all of this on your phone, but most of the things, if you're talking about YouTube videos, if you're talking about Zoom, if you have a data plan, you could do that. But again, we talked to students about trying to download as much as you could to your device so that you're not just using all of your data. I mean, there were just some little things like that at the very beginning of dealing with, McAlester down in Southeast Oklahoma, that's kind of had some students living in some rural areas down there that helped.
Yeah, because I know some folks are turning to Hotspots as a connectivity solution in homes, and that can be a good solution. But streaming with a hotspot is probably not your best bet, right? Like the downloading material is really going to be better, right?
Right. I mean, so that way, that made that a little bit easier, a little bit quicker for students. And the other thing was, it's one of those things where even with students, you've got to talk about making sure that your documents and what you're doing is saving, that you're sending them, that you're maybe saving them in more than one spot. I mean, those are things that, again, for if you're interjecting students into an environment of that, again, the good thing is I was doing this with high school students. So high school students always impress me where I start talking about technology and they're like, yeah, we know, and they know a lot of it, of course, but the type of programs you're using, some of maybe the academic, more related software, there needs to be kind of walk through. And we took our time at the beginning of the course and said, look, the first couple of days, we're just going to talk through all these things that we're doing. We're not, and again, I know this doesn't sound like groundbreaking news, but I would just, for schools and teachers trying to do this, be patient. Know it's gonna mess up one day. You're gonna have 4 kids say, "Well, I don't see you. Mine doesn't work." And I told them from the beginning, we're gonna have problems. Like we're gonna have to work through this together and just try to troubleshoot each situation and go through it. But don't let the I heard you say this today on your podcast. You don't want the perfect get in the way of the good. And so just know there's going to be bumps in the road and work your way through it. And I've been very impressed with districts really getting out there very quickly. And I mean, just really getting going quickly with this distance learning.
Yeah, me too. My team has been using, we primarily used Google Hangouts before the shutdown. We had also some experience with Zoom. We flipped over to Zoom. We find the video quality to be better. It's just a little more stable. I don't know, that could just be that so many people are using Google Classroom now that it's just not able to keep up. But so we did that. And then, daughters are in Edmond schools. They're officially shut down, but teachers have been reaching out, which is great. We've been getting some materials and some support so that mom and dad can continue working and think less about torturing children. And I love them. I do. I don't always like them when I'm working. So
right.
So always love. But this morning I got back. I went for a run to work out and came in, and my wife said, "You use Zoom all day. Teach your daughter how to use it." It's like, well, this is going to be easy, right? Like this is no problem. We have a Chromebook that both girls share, and then they both have iPads. So we're very lucky that they've got the technology to do this. So she was using her Chromebook. So I said, okay, I'm going to go into the office. You can't hear me. And I just started a meeting and I sent her a link. And she opened it up and couldn't figure out how to how to get into the meeting, right? And I think she hit the wrong buttons, and so I went out and walked her through it. And then what I realized was, wait a minute, my computer, um, I use a Mac. My Mac interface is different than the Chromebook interface, which I didn't expect, because Chromebook interface is within a browser.
Right.
And then I did know this. I knew that the iPad and the iPhone interface is different as well. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, teachers that are trying to get on with, so today her teacher is going to set up just a Zoom trial run today, right? So
Right.
I think one, just because I know she misses the kids, right? Like that's the thing that I don't think we've really fully appreciated, is how much teachers, they sent the kids off on spring break and they don't get them back, right? Like, and that's part of your life, If I didn't get to see my coworkers, it would really hurt me. And that's, I think that the teachers are struggling with that, but also very wisely, I think they're doing this as a tech run. And, I would like, as a raised Catholic, to bless them, because that's going to be some hard first conversation.
Absolutely.
Once we get fluent in it, it'll be there. But yeah, I think that people are going to have to realize first couple of days could be extraordinarily rough.
Well, I agree, and and like the point you made about teachers with, I always told kids at the end of every year, I mean, that's like a bittersweet thing. Like, you lose these students you've grown really close to every year. They move on, and it's and it's one of those things. It's very bittersweet. You're happy at their accomplishments, but it's hard. It's hard to not be around them every day, and you see them from time to time, but it's very different. But to have that happen and not be able to say goodbye, and not kind of have the formal, hey, it's just, I know that's really, really hard for teachers through all of this. And you made the point about, I just lost my train of thought. We were talking about with individual students and kind of what they're working on through this curriculum, and what that can look like. One of the things that I think is important for teachers to remember is, at the very beginning, I really was thinking, I'm going to make videos over everything that we do. I'm going to make these just awesome hour-long lectures, because again, now I'm not just a huge lecturer. I like to facilitate activities. So that was a lot of what we did. But on lecture days, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to do these long lectures, and I start going, it's one thing to sit here and watch me talk on a computer for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yep.
It's another thing to do that for an hour. And there's all these people who have, production valued lessons on World War II that honestly describe it a lot better than I do. I mean, they're
hard to admit that part, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so what I tried to do was, of course, I'm going to explain the things I really want to explain on video, but I really tried to say, what I want to do is prep the lesson, prep what they need to be looking for. And so you can do that, Screencastify is one, Zoom is one, where you could actually pull up a video, show them, and then boom, you jump right on at the end and say, so some of the things they mentioned there, I mean, you can bring it to a crescendo, you can point out the things you thought were most important, you can make a tweak, but instead of you as an educator trying to create this hour-long or 45-minute long, I mean, take what's already been done by people with, again, a TV crew, and you come in at the beginning and come in at the end. And I felt like that was a huge kind of weight off my shoulders of saying, look, and there were some days where it's like, look, this is one of the things I really like to, be able to teach the students. So I would sometimes do a longer video, but for the most part, I wanted to work students through the critical thinking, the skills that we try to develop through the social studies curriculum, and let them get a lot of the content through something that was already produced. And again, there's just an array of learning out there on YouTube and whatever else. But I think that that's something also for educators to not try to create everything from scratch, especially when we're talking about the end of the school year. I mean, go out there and there's a lot of resources available. Make sure that your students are seeing those things, and maybe you focus your time on the instruction part of the video conferencing.
Yeah, I think that for a lot of teachers, that's going to be a hard but critical mind shift, right? Like if you're trying to do this as the center of, I have the knowledge and I need to impart it. I think most teachers have gotten away from that, at least to some degree.
Sage on a stage, yeah.
Yeah, but that sage on the stage role, I think, is still a pretty common role in a traditional classroom setting, and It's not like it doesn't work, right? Maybe not work all the time for all kids, but I think a lot of times that's the predominant model. That's what that's the school that I went through. Um, but now, one, it's just hard to do, right? It's hard to be that sage on the stage all the time and do that well. Two, speaking to what you spoke about, like if we have the humility and the willingness to go out and find out that content, there are experts that we can
Yep.
leverage through this distance learning and that's okay, right? That isn't a denigration on a teacher's skills. Like it makes sense that there are experts that we can tap into. I don't think that lessens the role of the teacher, though, right? Like to me, the role of the teacher becomes, now how do I ensure that they understand this material, right? How do they digest it? And you can come up with targeted strategies for kids, like maybe these kids get it and now I can give them some project or whatever, or these kids we need to focus more on enrichment and reviewing, right?
Absolutely, and again, I think that there's an application there for a lot of grade levels, but speaking specifically to a high school type student, in my traditional class, I went away from, I used to just, hey, I'm going to come up with these awesome lectures and these massive PowerPoint slides and do that, and I noticed very quickly, I was like, I have a few kids engaged, but a lot of these kids, they're not going to listen to me. I mean, I can be as animated as I want, but 40 minutes is a lot to listen. They're not all, people that just love history. So over the years, what I did is I broke up with like a beginning of, kind of instruction of here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're looking for. A lot of group work then, a lot of project-based learning, a lot of high-level questioning that they had to come up with different answers with evidences for. And I facilitated through all of that. Bring it back to the end of where I ended class with kind of a shorter modified lecture. And what I noticed was now when I had a day of, hey, now today we're actually going to have a more extended lecture, I had a lot more engagement because I wasn't doing it every day. And with the online distance learning, I try to do something similar in having students answer these high-level questions through Google Docs, Google Slides. Again, put them in groups, let them work on that together. Again, this is project-based learning from a distance, have them develop these questions. So then when I come on and we're doing a discussion, they've already developed answers. They already have evidences. I can look at them, the documents shared with me, and I know already where they've been thinking, where their thought processes are. Then I'm able to step in and maybe redirect, maybe add to, maybe question them and say, you really think that's a direct cause of, World War II? Do you think that there was something even prior to that? I mean, again, I don't think I'm, in what I'm describing, saying, the teacher is absolutely still incredibly valuable and is still driving the instruction. But again, when you're forced in a situation like teachers are right now, developing hours and hours of content might be, again, it might help to add some of those other supplemental things in there that have already been produced, and then you can focus more on the instruction, the video conferencing, rather than the relay of information.
Yeah. So so we're using Zoom. We've talked about using Zoom with kids, and Zoom is really a communication platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you purchase the higher upgrade version, I think there are some other capabilities, and I'm perfectly honest, I don't know those, but it's not a learning management system. So compare and contrast. I know you use the Spark system, right? But the learning management system, probably the more common one that schools are using is Google Classroom right now.
Right.
There's Spark that's out there. There is, there's all kinds of
Absolutely.
Go to. But so talk about how you use that. And had you used an LMS before in your traditional classroom? So maybe sort of lessons learned from that experience.
Sure. So we're talking about using an LMS. Yeah, we use Spark with this course this year, but I'd used Google Classroom in the past. And there's obviously a lot of benefits there where you can create the assignments, you can create testing. There's a lot that you can do. One of the things that I love with the Google kind of suite is that you're doing everything through Google. I mean, I mentioned earlier, doing the Google Slides. I had students that really, that was something that they were able to really create their own presentation. And that's something that we're looking to do now in this kind of new environment, is have the students create a Google slide, a presentation over a certain topic, and then have them present it on Zoom. Just like, hey, present it. Here you go. Everyone's watching. Just do it.
Just use the share screen functionality.
Yes. Share your screen. You're going to just do the present. Now, of course, now you don't have like the grading of, are they standing in front of the class and projecting type thing? But I mean, again, they're presenting their information in a way that, I'm interested to see how that goes. But that's, I think, a real benefit of using the Google Classroom is that you're really using all those Google Docs. What we're trying to do is, of course, my course is an AP course. So we're still preparing students for an AP exam that's now been changed and modified due to the shortened school year. So it actually has changed the format of it. So, we're all kind of scrambling to go, okay, so this is a new format. So we're kind of shifting students' thinking as to how to answer these new questions. So what's been very helpful for us is we're creating some shared Google Docs and saying, look, we're going to do this together. Okay. We're all kind of thrown into this situation where you all are ready to take an exam and that exam just completely changed on you. So we're creating these study guides together. And so students share these Google Docs and I can see based on, and I have them change the color on, if you're typing, you're in red, you're in green, you're in blue, and you can see who's typing what they've added here. And then I can go back and respond to them there. But again, the great thing about using Google Classroom is that, again, is all inside that Google Suite. You can have assignments, you can have, and again, I know most teachers know all these things, but you can have the due date, the turn in, you can lock down a browser. I mean, if you're taking a test, I mean, there's just a lot of great features there that allows you to still do those type of things to assess learning. So
cool.
Very beneficial.
And I think the other benefit of an LMS, two benefits that I see, is one, it organizes all the work, right?
Absolutely.
So kids can see it, parents can see where the information is. So you've got sort of a central place. So even if they're doing work outside of the Google LMS, they can load that in there, right? Or whatever LMS you're using. So you've got one sort of central repository for tracking all of that stuff.
Right.
The other piece is just centralized communication, right? So with parents and with students. And I think there's one of the things that I fear is some really well-intentioned teachers and or parents, using Facebook or using text messaging and wires getting crossed or misinterpretation and having no record of that, and then people getting really, really mad, right?
Right.
So if you've got a messaging system within your LMS, which almost all of them do, then you've got a way of saying, well, okay, let's follow the
Absolutely.
communication here. So lots of things to think about, and I know there's going to be mistakes made. I think the silver lining here is I think most folks realize what a unique situation we're in today, but it's going to be tough.
And your first point is a really important one too, which is these LMSs have the ability. It's really easy for students. They log on today. The assignment's up today. That's what's due today. I mean, and I know that sounds simple, but it's not. If you're putting stuff out on Facebook, if you forget one morning to share it or send it, or if a student doesn't log in and go find it, Google Classroom or Spark, it's popping up. I mean, they literally, what it has for today, the next day rolls over. It's all organized. It's very clear. Like you said, messaging is very consistent. Those are just things that, again, as educators are very stressed here making these changes, I think those are the type of things that take a little bit of stress off their plate. And like you pointed out, it can help alleviate some problems that could occur there.
One other thing that I've just sort of encountered now, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I didn't know more about this before this issue hit, but are you familiar with Clever or any of the single sign-on options for students?
I've heard of it. I'm not sure.
So this is pretty groundbreaking, I think. And Edmund, I'm going to give them kudos, has this in place. So I walked by my daughter's computer the other morning. I said, "Whoa, what's that?" She said, "Oh, it's Clever." And I said, "Okay, tell me what that is." So it's just a web page she's got up. And what they've done is she logs into Clever. Clever on the back end integrates with the school's SIS, so the student information system. And so it loads all of the directory information there. And so what then Clever handles is Clever provides, they've got, and there are other tools out there. I think ClassLink is another one, which I'm not really familiar with. But they have with Clever over 500 applications that integrate with Clever. And so the authentication Clever handles, when I say authentication, it's how do we know who's coming into this system? So my daughter has, if you look at her page, she has, I think, 3 or 4 applications that Edmond, the district, has uploaded. Newsella was one. There was a typing application. It was like, ooh, we're doing 15 minutes a day every day. And so at the district level, all students, if they have a Clever account, can get that because they have a district license. And then they have a school level. I don't see anything at the teacher classroom, but I'm pretty sure that they have that piece. And I thought that's such a cool tool. It may not be possible, to get this in before Monday,
Right.
But the idea that as teachers are working on distance learning and they find a resource, the heartache that I've had is how are we going to make sure, like, if I have to learn a login for every single application that a teacher wants to use, like, this ain't going to go well.
Yep.
And so that solves that problem, right? Where teachers, and I don't know exactly how it interfaces, but I believe that the learning management system can interface with Clever. So you go into an LMS, you tunnel over to Clever. The only password you really need to remember is potentially the LMS and or the Clever password. So I thought it was pretty powerful.
No, that's great. I mean, that is one thing, again, that I heard from students and I've heard from districts is, we want to make sure there's some consistency where a kid isn't having, like you said, multiple logins, having to jostle over to all these different things. And you just don't want to create any more difficulties.
Yep.
So that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm working on finding a school that's fluent with it that can talk about that and sort of how they set it up. So that in the next few days, hope to have something up about that.
That'd be great.
ELL, and we've got lots of challenges with this. We don't want to put too rosy picture. This is going to be really hard work, but I think there's also some silver linings here of learning new ways of doing this, finding new sources of content, things like that. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there is no doubt this is an incredibly difficult ask of teachers and districts. But again, we mentioned that earlier, I've been so impressed with the schools that I've seen that are just really going above and beyond and being super creative and really making a great effort to reach all their students. And, it's right now when things can, you're trapped in the house and sometimes, days can be, kind of gray and, it's really great to see these stories on teachers and what districts are doing to get to their kids and make sure learning is continuing. It's been I'm just hat tip to Oklahoma teachers for doing what it takes to make sure their kids are still getting instruction through all this.
Indeed. I've got one really important question that I want to end with. So I don't know if you can tell, but my fade is getting a little long here. I mean, the peaks are getting a little long. Yeah, welcome to the next 10 years of your life. But so I noticed you've got this, this beard that's growing out. Like, you going full mountain man, or what's the plans when you can't get to the barber all the time, man?
I think I'm not going to touch my hair. Well, I'll comb it, but I'm not going to cut it or my beard till we return to civilization. I think I'm just going to. Think so.
All right. If I get long enough, I'm going to go full Gundy and do the mullet. So.
Or you mean full Joe Exotic?
I don't know. That's a lot of peroxide, man. We're saying sanitizer.
Can't be good for you. Absolutely. We'll have to do this. We'll have to get on a call here, well, hopefully maybe we won't be on a call and, doing this in a month or something. But if we are, we'll see what we look like. Yeah. Maybe by that point, Zoom will have one of those like Snapchat filters where you can actually like it'll put the hair on you and, clean you up. And so then once we do that, like, game over. Like, I'll just roll out of bed and just jump on a video call.
Indeed, man. Yeah. All I'll need is just, lots of boxers and I'll be ready to roll.
Absolutely. Zoom, y'all get on that. Get on the Snapchat filter thing.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today, Ryan.
I appreciate you and all the work that you guys are doing. And, I'm a big fan of the podcast. I don't miss them. So I appreciate you guys getting this out here, and I appreciate all the work you guys do over there. It's a great organization. So thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.